Good morning. Welcome to today's Q&A with a myofascial expert. One of the most frequent questions I get when I talk to people who are unfamiliar with myofascial release, unfamiliar with myofascial health, unfamiliar with some of the things that we do on a day-to-day basis that might be harmful to our bodies. One of the most frequently asked questions I hear from people I have new conversations with is, how do I know if I have myofascial restrictions? How do I know if I have myofascial restrictions that need help from a specialist? Excellent question. I train specifically with John Barnes, who's the father of myofascial release. He teaches, quite simply, if something is hard, hot, or tender when it's at rest, or when soft tissue is hard, hot, or tender when it's at rest, that's an indication of a myofascial restriction. Now, it's important to note that myofascial restrictions don't show up on any of our current medical imaging and testing. You can't go get an MRI or a CT scan or an X-ray or an ultrasound and have someone say, oh yeah, I can see that there. You do have myofascial restrictions. But really, really simple to identify when you use your own hands. You don't have to be a specialist to assess your own soft tissue. Again, soft tissue at rest, in the absence of injury or damage that you know you have done, should be soft, pliable, flexible, bendable. It shouldn't hurt. Now, you don't want to go poking at yourself, but you can use a flat hand to just start to assess the tissue in your body. Assess where it moves or doesn't move. This tissue should move. Again, looking for soft, pliable, flexible. But as you assess, maybe a bit slower than I'm going, you can feel where areas start to feel kind of ropey or thick or hard. I have some trouble right here. That's going to affect my ability to rotate my hand, to use this arm as optimally as I can. You can assess the soft tissue in your body. Again, I have a tender spot right here. As I feel around in there, I can feel where that tissue is kind of glued to the bone. You can do this everywhere in your body. Now, the next natural question is, well, what do I do if I have myofascial restrictions? Areas that are thick, tender, ropey, that feel like they don't move, and instinctively you know what that should probably move there. What do I do? I'll get to that in a bit, but let's stay on this issue of how do I know if I have myofascial restrictions. So again, you can do that anywhere in your body. Tissue at rest, soft tissue at rest, should be soft, pliable, flexible, bendable. It shouldn't hurt. You can work up here around your ribs, under your collarbone. You can check and assess down through your legs. Most of us know when we hit a tender spot. It's tender. We can also feel if there are areas that you can't actually get a sense of that are kind of numb. That can be another indication of myofascial restriction. Again, this is in the absence of other medical issues that you know might be causing numbness, tingling, pain, sensations. They might be tied to myofascial restrictions. They might have other medical causes. I can't diagnose that. I can just help you kind of learn to assess the tissues of your own body. Now, other ways you might know are relative to your subjective experience, how you describe your experience, or how you feel in your own body. Now, I have about 10 questions I tend to ask people as they're becoming familiar with their own myofascial health. I'm going to read those just because I tend to forget them. The first one is, when your body is at rest, are there areas that are tender or painful to touch? We just kind of went over that. You can assess your own soft tissue. It shouldn't feel ropey or thick or glued or bound down or hard or hot or tender. Those can be indications you've got some trouble in the myofascial system of the body. Then we start to get into subjective experiences. Are you experiencing pain in places you never have before with no known cause? Now, this might be an instinctive, intuitive sense. It might be a sense of, it just feels like something's off. It feels like something's wrong. And you might know, I didn't actually injure that, but something's pulling into it. I love when people come to me with an instinctive, intuitive sense of something is off. I tell them it's like magic language, especially if you've gone to a doctor or a medical professional and tried to explain what's going on in your body, and you've been told, yeah, there's no logical reason you should be feeling that. I refer to that as listening to the fascial voice. It's an indication you're feeling something in the system of the body that can't be imaged, that is actually real. They're myofascial restrictions, or at least they can be. So, are you experiencing pain in places you never have before with no known cause, no known injury? Can be an indication of myofascial restrictions. This one was me for a long time. Do you wake up sore in the morning when you didn't do anything that should cause that? Like a hard workout the day before, like yard work, like a hike, any of those things that we know, oh, I'm going to pay for this tomorrow. Again, that's not necessarily normal. I'm not saying that's normal. But if you haven't done anything and you just consistently wake up tired or fatigued or sore, kind of like you've been running a race or in a fight overnight, that can be an indication of myofascial restrictions in your body. At night, when we sleep, that's when our body should actually rest and reset and repair and restore health to the tissues. We need that deep sleep. When that's not happening, our body is often in this tight, clenched, braced state where literally our muscles and our tissues stay tightened. You can imagine how sore you actually would feel in the morning. Makes logical sense. The issue is often myofascial restrictions, not something you should be dealing with. Do you feel tight in your body? Now, this is again one of my favorites. I hear some fun descriptions. A really common one is it feels like I'm in a straitjacket. And you know, logically, again, you should be able to move. Or it feels like I'm so tight in my body, I can't take a deep breath. A lot of times as I work with people, they start to describe how I didn't know I couldn't breathe deeply, but I couldn't breathe deeply. And they start to recognize the difference as they get space in the myofascial tissues. So do you feel tight or squashed or squeezed somehow? Do you feel like maybe you can never actually relax in your body? Even if you try, even if you feel like there's an absence of other stressors, other factors in your life, do you just feel like your body forgot how to relax? It really might have. If there are myofascial restrictions just staying thick and tight in there, it's almost impossible to relax. Or do you feel like you're somehow being twisted up inside? I've had clients describe that they just feel like something's just twisted in there. And when they start to talk with their hands, when you start to talk with your hands, again, that's like magic language here. You're describing something you can feel that you might have been told makes no logical sense. You're probably feeling into your fascial system, feeling the presence and the effect of myofascial restrictions. Another one, is recovery taking longer than you've been told it would or told it should? So in healthy tissue, there is a natural healing process that follows pretty definitive stages. When healing doesn't happen that way, imagine that you've got forces in your body, your fascial system, this web of connective tissues, that you have tugs and pulls over here that maybe keep a wound from closing fully, or you have tugs and pulls here that twist the bones in a way that it can't actually heal through that sprain or that strain or that tear. Restrictions in the myofascial system of the body can cause forces that get in the way of natural healing responses. If it's a strain, if it's a tear, if it's a wound closure, if it's recovery after a surgery, if something's not going kind of how you've been told to expect, you might be feeling the effect of myofascial restrictions on that healing process. Again, not normal. Very common, not normal. Do you have an injury from years ago that feels like it's starting to flare up, even worse than before? Again, especially if you know you haven't done anything. A lot of people I talk to, when I first talk to people about working with restoring the myofascial health of the body, I will ask for a lot of information about past injuries, past surgeries. I've heard of people who fell off a roof years ago. They've been dragged by cars, they've been dragged by horses, they've fallen out of trees, off ladders. I hear such interesting stories. And they'll say, well, yeah, but that happened 10 or 20 years ago. Well, those impacts, those traumas, those injuries, illnesses, repetitive postures, they have a cumulative effect in the fascial system. Our body's resilient. Our body is amazing. And our ability to absorb shock and impact, just walking and running and playing, all of those things have an effect on our fascial system. Over time, when we don't have some good care for the fascial system, it kind of becomes sticky. It starts to glue, it starts to dehydrate, it starts to get thick in areas it shouldn't. We start to get little twists and torsions and distortions in our fascial web. And again, we might not notice those, but we add an impact, a fall, a surgery, a trauma, something into that. We get a big restriction all at once. That now every other action, every other movement, every other activity has that abnormal strain to work against, in addition to the regular effects of gravity. Over time, that really starts to wear down our joints. It starts to wear down our ability of our muscles to fully contract or to fully not contract, so that we get this full range of motion. That has an additional wear and tear effect on the body. It all adds up. So a lot of times when people really start to feel the effect of fascial restrictions in their body, it can be years after an old injury, because that's something that made a big restriction or a big damaged area of tissue that's just had repetitive tugs and pulls and strains on it for years until something breaks down. So if an old injury is flaring up, you didn't injure it, or it's taking longer to heal after you did injure it, you might be feeling the effect of some fascial restrictions getting in the way of that. Do you worry that you're making things worse when you exercise or work out, even when the activity's light? Now, this is when people are in the stage of accumulation, has reached that point of pain or injury or trouble or worry, and you go to work out and you just get kind of tight, you're kind of worried about injuring something. You know you shouldn't be in danger of injuring something, but you have this instinctive knowing something's not right. You aren't resetting the tension levels in your body after a workout. This goes back to not being able to relax in the body. The tissues can't soften. That's an indication of fascial restrictions. The myofascial system is the environment of everything else in our body, especially around muscles, tendons, ligaments, bones. The fascial system is what surrounds all of that and gives it the shape that it has in our body, our shape in space. And when we get fascial restrictions, you got this tightness, this gluing, this thickness, again, especially around muscles. They can't fully lengthen, they can't fully contract, they can't fully stop contracting. You get soreness and you keep working out. They can't contract fully, they can't stop contracting fully. You are more prone to injury. Most of us have an instinctive sense of, maybe I shouldn't work out today. If you're starting to worry about that, especially in activities and workouts you've always been able to do without concern, it can can be an indication. You're getting this instinctive sense something's not right. That can be an indication of fascial restrictions. Do you lack energy or feel fatigue often, even after resting or sleeping? Now, we talked about this a little bit earlier with waking up sore in the morning, but this feeling of fatigue, again, this goes back to the myofascial system being the environment of everything else. That includes your cells. It includes all your organs. It includes all the other systems of your body. The myofascial system is the only whole body, entirely whole body system. And every other system of the body functions within it. It's the environment of your circulatory system, of your digestive system, of your nervous system, the muscular system, the skeletal system. Every system of your body is affected by the health of the myofascial system. So if you've got restrictions through your body, and again, this is webbing, it's microtubules filled with liquid that should glide. Everything within your body sits within this system, is supported by this network of fibers. If it gets squeezed, your intestines might not be digesting like they could because they're squeezed and glued and stuck together. Your cells might not have their cellular functions, their cellular metabolism, their cellular respiration, the ability to move nutrients in and out of the cells, in and out of your bloodstream, in and out of your tissues, can be impaired when there are thicknesses, gluing, dehydration in the fascial system. Things just don't work like they should. And you end up feeling tired or fatigued, even when you know you should be rested, even when you know you spent 8 hours in bed, you didn't actually sleep. Your body didn't actually reset because it can't. There is a point, and I mentioned this accumulation over time, over a lifetime. There is a point up to which your body can function reasonably well. But then you kind of go one straw, the straw that broke the camel's back, one hair, one step past that, and you start to just tumble into this cycle of not being able to reset, not feeling rested, worrying about injury, having an injury. It doesn't repair as well as it should or that you told it would. It's just this downward spiral because the restrictions then start to have an effect a lot faster and through a lot more of the systems of your body. There's a tipping point. So if you're not feeling rested, you're probably past that tipping point and need some help. A couple more. Do you feel old in your body? Like way older than your chronological age should reflect. This one's really common. And again, this goes back to the influence of the myofascial system on every other system of the body. It can age us faster. Again, imagine when joints can't function properly because muscles aren't fully contracting and stopping that contraction. When you have this constant tension in your body and on your cells and organs, they're going to age faster. You're going to feel tired. When you feel tired, you look older. At least I do. When you don't sleep well, you aren't restoring health to your body, resetting, you're not repairing tissues, you're going to age faster. You might not look it, but what you feel in your body matters. That subjective sense matters. Do you feel older than your chronological age? Reflex. That can be an indication of fascial restrictions. Last one, again related to sleep, because sleep has such an important place in the restoration of health, in the development and maintenance of health. You've got to be able to sleep. Do you have difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep because of pain? No. If you picture when you go to sleep, your body should relax. We shouldn't have that sense of tension. We shouldn't have that sense of work in our body. It's meant to relax. It's where the body repairs and restores. Now, if you're having trouble falling asleep because you're just like this, or you wake up because of pain because you've been like this, that can be an indication of myofascial restrictions. So those are my 10 not so quick questions, ways in which you can kind of assess your own myofascial health. Now, I usually tell people, everyone, well, not everyone, I usually tell people if you can answer yes to one or more of those questions, you likely have some myofascial restrictions in your body. There are other videos, I'll answer that question in another video. What do I do when I have myofascial restrictions? But for the purpose of this video, we're just assessing right now. Almost everyone has myofascial restrictions unless they've done a lot of work and have a lot of good self-care. And even then, we're prone to injury, we're prone to accident, we're prone to acute things happening to us that create restrictions. Almost everyone at some point is going to answer yes to one or more of those questions. But if you answer yes to more than 5 of those questions, again, you're probably way past that tipping point of needing some help in order to get to a place where you can maintain the health of your myofascial system. So if you answer yes to 5 or more, you might want to talk to a specialist or consider talking to a specialist. Again, today's question, how do I know if I have myofascial restrictions? Giving you 10 quick questions you can ask yourself kind of to assess. If you need some more help with that, let's schedule a call. Let's talk about a consultation. If you're local to the Salt Lake area or local to Utah, let's get in for a free consultation. I'll help you get a sense more of what's going on in your body and what might be done to get you back to feeling good, moving well, and enjoying life. Hope that answers your question. Feel free to reach out if you have any more questions. Leave us a comment. We'll see you next time.